All right, welcome to this month's interview, and Claire and I will be talking to Darragh Clancy. It's because it's written just C on
Yeah,
something.
that's my
That's what threw me
online
off.
moniker.
Yeah. Darragh Clancy, and he made a feature film called Skeleton Krew, Krew. And one of the reasons kind of why we wanted to talk to you is we've spoken with quite a few people that have made like short films and stuff, but you actually made a full-length film that you funded yourself,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. So just kind of talk about it a little bit, like where'd the idea come from, and
Basically, it was actually the first script I ever wrote. It was a few years back. I did a 5-day film course, and the guy was asking me, "Do I have any ideas?" And I just thought of one up on the spot. I said, "How about a murderer running around a factory on a night shift? That way you can shoot it all in the same place." And I used to work with a lot of very funny people, so people might recognize themselves if anybody actually watches it. And I wrote that. It took about a year to write the first draft, and then I actually said, I think I might actually go and try and make this. Like, I went to college then learning the craft, some of it, and I said I'm going to start as soon as I finish, because I know a lot of people they just never get around to it. Like life gets in the way and you end up it just gets put in the back burner. So
yeah, it's one of those talk and.
And is this your first feature film, Thomas?
yeah.
And previous to that, have you written shorts?
No,
or?
I never even looked into shorts. I'm actually writing one now, but because I learned why people don't rush into feature films. But no, that was actually my first feature and first script actually.
Wow.
I'd worked on 2 other shorts in college, and that was it.
So did you study filmmaking in college?
Yes, the media production.
Okay.
And radio.
How long did it take from beginning to end to make Skeleton Krew?
Well, including pre-production, which would have started in June 2013, and the final shoot was in March 2014,
Okay.
and then we had to go back and do some reshoots after the first cut.
Okay.
There was some scenes that were just kind of thrown in there to add running time. So I'd say about 6 or 7 months, but that was broken up. There was some delays, and then around December you've got the holidays, and that's a nightmare time to shoot anything.
And where did you shoot your film? Did you find a location?
Yeah, 3 separate places. One was a factory out in Ballymount.
How'd you find the factory?
A friend of mine actually knew somebody. A friend of his had shot another web series there, and they were open to let people use it. So that was.
So is it a working factory?
No, it's abandoned. I think there's a few offices there still, and there's a couple of small businesses there, but there wasn't. It might be now actually, because I think they're actually starting to use it as a warehouse again.
Okay.
Because it really suits your film. The location. That's one thing I noticed. It really suits the whole atmosphere and adds to it as well.
That's what I was thinking when I was watching, and I was like, how did he get this location?
Yeah.
I was
And
actually
who do I talk to?
envisioning a giant, big industrial estate, like a big, huge working place, which would have cost a lot of money, more than we had.
And then you also shot in a pub here in Dublin.
Yeah, I shot it. It was in the Bull and Castle.
Mm-hmm.
We went in early, did the scene there. I actually knew that from college. They let us. We shot another short there. We had a scene there, so they're quite open to that actually. Obviously, as long as you're not interfering with business or anything. So that was handy. And then the outdoor stuff was in Blessington. It was a quarry in Blessington, where a lot of the stuff took part. The final scenes and all.
Okay.
That was all Blessington. That took a while to find. That's actually what delayed the production, was trying to find a location, an outdoor location, like legally. I wasn't just going to pull up and start hoping for the best. And I actually found that on the Irish Film Board on their website. I actually got chatting to the owner of that place, which is better because I've dealt with estate agents before, and it can be a lot of red tape sometimes. It's easier just to talk to the person themselves and go from there.
So what were the challenges of filming inside compared to filming the outside shoot?
Outside, well, there's wind, the weather, especially Irish weather. It's just unpredictable. Inside, there wasn't that many problems because we had the place to ourselves, so we didn't have to worry too much about noise. We couldn't actually shoot outside the factory. We shot most of the interior in because there was like a gas refinery across the road, and the sound, it was a hum, like 24-hour kind of noise coming from that, so we couldn't do any outdoor shots there.
Okay.
So it actually worked out better in some ways for that.
And you shot mostly at night, was it? Most of the shots?
No, it's set at night, but some of them were from early morning. Like, we just taped up the windows and shot there. There are times you can kind of see it's bright out, But no, a lot of the indoor stuff was during the day, and ran into night, I suppose.
And so with your cast and crew, where did you find them?
I do an acting course myself in Temple Bar Visions Drama, so some of them were students there. Most of them are trained actors, you know. I'd worked with some in previous productions. Like they were mostly actors I knew from different projects. I didn't really do a casting. I would now, but I knew most of them, and some of them actually thought this person would be perfect for it. There were a few characters I changed, like the gender or whatever, because I thought, you know, this person would be really good in this role, you know.
Did you find then with people, since you're working with people, you know, their schedules conflicting?
It can be difficult. That's one of the most difficult parts.
Yeah, because I've experienced that as well. So
you just have to see when everybody's ready and do the best you can. I mean, sometimes it can be, there was 30 people altogether in that, so it can be hard to find a time that suits everyone.
Pretty good sized cast, yeah.
There was times where people would only be free for 2 hours, so we just have to rush their scene, get that done, and hope for the best. And that's all we had them for. It's really keeping communication is the thing. Like
it was shot over, was it a 3-month period with the whole film?
Yeah, it wasn't intended to be. It was just it took so long to find the outdoor location.
And do you have any problem with some of the cast, maybe keeping them on board, or some of the crew?
It did happen with one actor. He got some work in the meantime, and he had to grow a beard, and that his character just kind of wanders off. And like he offered to reshoot, but we couldn't.
Yeah.
So he said over 12 hours. It's going to look crazy if the guy all of a sudden
has a beard.
Comes back, because he was supposed to be in it a lot more. This particular character, like he was supposed to fall asleep and wake up in his car, and then he finds out all his co-workers, you know, there's something's happened. You know, that was the ending. You know, the original, but. You just have to sometimes improvise.
Yeah.
Did you find so when I watched it, one of the issues I had as from the United States was the accents.
Probably.
So yeah, I found it really difficult on occasion to follow what everybody was saying, and how would you potentially address that? You know, in a future film, I don't know. What did you think? You're Irish.
I'm Irish. I'm from County Galway. Some of the accents were very strong. Some of the Dublin accents, I suppose. I
didn't actually think of it at the time, but it's a fair point, because a friend of mine, we were working on another project, and he wants it to be more crisp. Like, you know, you don't overdo it. Some accents are very thick, and the slang words that people wouldn't be familiar with outside of Dublin, let alone Ireland. So that was something I didn't actually consider, but I would now, because I mean, you really want to make something that's universal. On the other hand, we watch movies from all over the world, and we have to figure out sometimes what somebody's saying. You know, everybody has their own different, what do you call it, colloquialism?
Yeah.
So.
And did you find some of those rooms were quite big, and say picking up the actors, you know, with the sound, their voices can be a reverb. So that's quite a tricky thing.
Especially in the warehouse, it was like it was very high ceiling, and it was a big room. It was hard not to get the echo sometimes, and sometimes I had to redo it in post. There was a few scenes had to be just re-recorded, especially the outdoor stuff, because the wind was so intense. Like it really disrupted the shoot.
Oh, I imagine, yeah. And so overall, how did you fund it, and where did kind of the money go, and what was the budget?
It actually, you can see it all on screen. It cost $5 to shoot.
Okay, 5,000.
Yeah, but between post-production and paying the actors, it was 14.5 altogether.
Okay.
But the shoot itself was 5. I got a loan out of the credit union. I can't remember what I told them it was for. My dad was saying I was going to make a movie with this.
Yeah.
And it was about $600 on makeup that I got from the States. That was the first one. That was a mistake. There was a problem with supplies. And then the props were from LA. I got them online. Okay. So I had to pay customs and excise on that. That was actually 180 tax on top of that.
Ireland.
$600 worth of props, fake knives, fake intestines, all this stuff.
And how did that go down? I noticed there's a gun in one of the scenes. Like, did you import that from America?
No,
you didn't.
That's not a real gun. I think somebody just brought that in. They had it at home.
So even importing knives, were they prop knives?
They were props, yeah. It does look unusual when the guy shows up at your door with a dummy, a human life-size dummy, a fake axe and loads of blood. But if they asked, I said, yeah, I'm making a horror movie.
Of course.
You know, here it is.
And also, did you ever use a Foley artist, you know, for the sound?
I actually did a lot of that myself. I used the basics on Final Cut. Some of it I wouldn't do now. It did it. But I would if I could afford a Foley artist, definitely.
All right, well, let's throw to a preview of the film, show anyone watching, and then we'll come back and chat about it a little bit more.
Willie! Addy! Lads! Who's that? This is someone's idea of a joke. You're gonna stop messing around before I split you fucking open.
All right, that was Skeleton Krew, the indie low-budget horror film from Darragh Clancy. The name, why Skeleton Krew with a K?
Well, first of all, it's the, I remember there was an old Stephen King story called Skeleton Krew. There was actually something else called Skeleton Krew with a C, so I just put in the K. But that's actually what it was. It's a small group of workers in a factory. I wasn't sure what they was going to call it, night shift. That's been done before. Yeah. And it was a skeleton crew in the story, and the actual crew we had make it was also a skeleton crew. So it was not even playing words. That's what we had to make it with 4 crew members. Oh, like, wow. If you watch next time you watch a movie, check how many people work on it. And we had 4.
Or in the credits, yeah. You didn't do the just kind of put up some random names to see.
Sure did.
Yep.
Fake names. Mm-hmm. You can probably tell which ones are the fake names as well.
I was watching, I was trying to okay, because I do that on films now. I'm like, does that look like a fake name or not?
Chesty Rockwell, I think, was one of them. I remember the movie Boogie Nights. I used a lot of the names they had.
Yeah, that was good. And so I guess last question to this, and then we can kind of just talk about filmmaking a little bit more. Where can people see it, and what's the plan with this film in the future?
Well, they can see it anywhere now because it's up everywhere. But if you want to watch it,
and by everywhere you mean one of those
it's on
not legal sites that nobody should be watching stuff on.
But if you want to watch it legally, it's on Vimeo.com, Vimeo on demand, and it's also on a site called Gumroad. You can rent it or buy it, and it's quite cheap. It's affordable.
Okay.
Like that,
All right, we'll throw a link to the show notes and stuff. So yeah. Cool. All right, and then so tell us what's in the future for you as a filmmaker.
Well, I've written a few other scripts. I've written some full length, different genres. I wrote a thriller and a crime story. I'm thinking about doing a TV show. I have an idea I'd like to do with kind of it's actually one of the characters in the movie, the detective. But the idea is for him to
a handsome young American detective.
No, he's an older Dublin guy. But there's always actors needed. But basically, what I want to do is a kind of, not quite X-Files, but him and his partner investigating old urban myths and legends. They're kind of stumbling across them, a different one each week from Celtic mythology. Like, could be the Headless Horseman, or it could be an Irish version of a vampire, or something different, but myths and legends of old Dublin in a TV show. Something fun, though, and hopefully affordable. Apart from that, I've got some shorts I've written, and I have a couple of documentary ideas as well I'd like to pursue.
Sorry, Claire, did you have more questions on the film before I move to a different subject?
Just wondering, the funding originally, did you ever go down the Indiegogo Kickstarter route?
I tried both and didn't get anywhere because there was so many. I think it was oversaturated. There's so many people looking for funding there, and you really need somebody specific to handle that for you. Now I'm studying marketing now as it happens, but I wasn't then, and it was just another distraction that I didn't need, I would have loved it. Would have been fantastic. I tried it, but it didn't work for me. I think there's a lot of people doing that now, and it can be a bit much for people.
I think that's it now too. There's so many people trying to fund their films now.
It was an original idea at one point, and that was great. But now it's like, oh, not another one, for God's sake, And with the times the way they are, some people don't genuinely have the money to, they don't really see that as a worthwhile project,
Yeah.
Unless it's a fan favorite. If it's something people really want to see, and the only way it can get finished is to go that route, possibly. But I don't think it was didn't work for me.
Yeah, we regularly talk about the fan film Star Trek, one of the Star Trek films that a fan group is making that's being sued by Paramount right now and stuff like that. So
I never understood that actually. The whole fan thing. I mean, I enjoy some of them, but it's somebody else's characters, you know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I like the idea of the fan film and that they're making it, and it's probably going to be better than the Star Trek movies because, you know, well, if you guys like those movies, but
I quite enjoy some
ones, yeah. But I do actually kind of agree with the studio on this one because they are taking their.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do Batman or something. You know, I don't own that character. It's not my character. You know.
Why horror film then? Was that just because that's what you were doing at this point in time?
Yeah, I always wanted to do one anyway. I wanted to give it a go. Now there's so many things I do different, and we didn't have a special effects guy for this, so it's just kind of trying. There was a lot of things we had to cut out because it just didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, there's things you have to. It takes a long time to work on, and certain makeup effects and all. But I always want to do these type of movies, and I don't. There's not that many Irish horror movies.
No, there's not.
And there should be because there's such a history of, you know, ghost stories and all that stuff.
Yeah. So what did you learn then from the film? Like, what advice would you give for anybody watching the show?
Well, one thing I've noticed, a lot of first-time filmmakers, the first thing they do is rush into the project without doing enough pre-production. That's what I did, and that's why it was delayed, and that's why they always are delayed. I would tell you go for it. If people tell you, oh, that's silly, don't, you know, forget them, you know. But invest your time in pre-production. You won't regret it. Make sure you're 100% happy with the script. Cast your actors, and you know, things will happen. It's just inevitable. But keep on going with it. Pre-production though will be the main one.
Okay. So let's see. We talked about. Let me check my list here of questions. We got location, length of production, how it's funded. Is it bad to pull this up? Oh, sorry. Is it bad to pull this up on camera? That's fine. Adrian's editing. We can edit this out. So what got you into filmmaking? Like, why did you want to be a filmmaker?
I always had an interest in it ever since I was young. You know, I used to rent the same movie constantly. I think it was American Werewolf in London. I rented it so much in the video store that they went and bought me the copy because I think I wore out their copy anyway. But I used to set up scenes, you know, kids play and all, and I like I never owned a camera or anything, so I wasn't like making short movies from a young age. But I used to play characters from movies, like, and we'd try and go through scenes. And I didn't for years. I didn't pursue it, and then I was found myself unemployed again. I got like redundancy number 3 or 4, and I said I'd actually love to give this a go. I've always been interested in it, and I'd love to give it a shot because I'd done some acting work and I'd seen how it was on set. And I really enjoyed being on set, so I said I'd really like to pursue this.
So did you go from school into the work market and then back to school for film? Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what happened, yeah.
And do you think that benefited you as a filmmaker, instead of going straight into filmmaking, or going into the workplace? And
I would have loved to have gone, you know, looking back on it, I wish I'd gotten into it younger, but sometimes things find you at the right time. I did have some work experiences that I can put into scripts, you know, from that, and I realise how great it is if you can make a living as a filmmaker. It's so much more fun than some of the old jobs I had, you know. They're fairly mundane, and it's nice to be creative. I think the downside of it now is it's hard to sell your movie anymore. Like, it's all the piracy, you know. It's not necessarily a great time in that regard.
And with Skeleton Krew, that's what happened, was it?
Yeah. It was pirated, and it was put up on literally every streaming site that I could think of. Like, I found it later. They go up through a server and they just kind of go all over the world. They take bits from your movie from here and there, and it just, and there's not a lot you can do about it either, or anything. I heard, you know.
Because you hear that happening with big budget films, but you don't hear the low budget or no budget films.
It's actually, I'm not the only person I know this has happened to. I know one friend of mine was saying, and he's in my movie, David O'Neill. He was in a movie called Portrait of a Zombie. Same thing happened, and he's dubbed into German. He said he actually found it quite funny. Like, he just saw, like, his movie was even dubbed and everything.
Wow, that's impressive.
There is actually software that automatically adds subtitles, but if they don't understand the accent, like you were saying earlier, you have crazy stuff coming up on the screen. Like, that's not what he's saying.
You mentioned earlier that you had some acting experience, and you're an actor as well.
Yeah.
And do you think that informs you as a filmmaker and a director, like just having that acting experience?
I'd like to think so. It's difficult to do both. I don't think I'd direct and act again. Can be quite challenging. Like, you know, not everybody's Clint Eastwood, but I'd like to think it helps because it's very easy. That's a great way to meet actors anyway. But that's never been a hard part of the job anyway. There's usually a lot of actors about. I like both, and I suppose you know how it is from the other person's point of view. You know, like I wouldn't ask people to do things that were, say, above the call of duty. You know, I'd like to make sure people feel comfortable and all. Though I made mistakes doing that too. There was plenty of there's things I do different now, definitely.
Yeah, because I did notice in Skeleton Krew, like it does open in with kind of like a sex scene, but it's not doesn't really reveal anything. And kind of one of the staples of low budget horror flicks
is that there's plenty of that.
Yeah, so there wasn't any of that in this
I
one.
think it came down the actor involved didn't feel comfortable with that. That's, you know, okay.
You want, yeah.
But it depends, because there are some people that have no issues with that. It'd be quite embarrassing for us too. You know, that could be difficult scenes to do, because you're all standing around, kind of going, "Oh, do this a bit more." You know, so maybe not try it the first time out.
Okay. Well, so I think we're getting close to the end of the show. It was great talking to you and talking about this particular film, especially because you actually took the initiative and basically said, I'm going to make this film, I'm going to find a way to fund it, I'm going to find a crew, I'm going to find an actors, and I'm going to get it out there, which is impressive because so many people talk about doing something like that, but nobody ever actually does it, kind of to your point, is you just need to make it happen.
That's what I did. That was my first thing when I finished college. I'm just going to go for it, you know, and it was quite exciting. It was an exciting experience, you know, especially when it's starting to come together, like it really is going to happen now. And then you kind of go, I really have to do this. Like, you know, I can't say, all right, guys, it's great knowing you, but I think I'll just pull it back. We're going to have to just do it.
Nice.
So if there's one lesson you would take to your next project, what would it be from
there's more than one. Planning.
Planning.
And also you need a crew, like you really do. It's very important to have them. And I would have if I could, you know, but planning and having the right people involved.
Great. All right, well, this was our talk with Darragh Clancy. Darragh Clancy, Irish filmmaker who made a low-budget horror film called Skeleton Krew. We'll throw a link into the show notes. Go check it out. It's available on Vimeo and other channels. And it's not super expensive. So instead of getting an extra large coffee, get a medium-sized coffee, spend a few quid, and get his film. And that's it. I don't really have an outro for the show yet. Bye.